You?
Very good. What do you think of Alan today?
I thought he was sensational, amazing. I mean, a lot of people have been telling me a lot about him, but his record already is 21-0, 18 knockouts, but never fought outside of Argentina. So you never really know if the hype is real. Who's that?
Someone's phone is going.
Is that yours? Okay, that's strange.
Wow.
So you never really know, if the hype is real. But what we saw tonight was a huge puncher, but also a very smart fighter. Someone with a good IQ, speed, a brain. He set the shot up perfectly. That guy went the full distance with Keyshawn Davis. He got stopped on his feet, maybe controversially against Oscar Duarte on a week's notice. He's a very, very durable guy, and Chavez destroyed him. And I think he's going to be a big, big star.
Eddie, Miller came in at 305. That's the lightest he's ever been in the ring. Do you think his conditioning had anything to do with his performance tonight?
Yeah, he threw over 1,000 punches himself, which is incredible for a heavyweight. He lost 12 pounds from the eBay fight. That's really not a lot of weight, like for a guy of that size. He was going on about it like he's just revolutionised his body, but it's a start, right? But what he did do was he came in condition, and you saw that. Like against eBay, you saw he was shattered after 2 rounds. There he's gone 12 hard rounds and was breathing really well. He will be a problem for any heavyweight in the world when he's fit. Can he beat them? A lot of them, but he's going to be a problem because that kind of output, is not easy. I want him to fight Deontay Wilder. I think, 2 American fighters, it'll be a brilliant build-up, styles, personalities, and, a big fight at MSG or Barclays Center.
Realistically, what do you think that fight will happen? How soon do you think he'll be ready for something like that?
Yeah, I think, June, July. I think he didn't really take a lot of punishment in there tonight. He's trained hard, but you don't want Jerrell Miller to be out of the ring too long,
Yeah.
Get back in the gym, away from the restaurants, and keep going.
And where would the fight be here in America?
I
Two American fighters?
Barclays Center, Brooklyn.
Okay.
I mean, Alabama, MSG. I just think it's a great
Real
fight.
American.
As a promoter, I know what sells. That sells. You get those two together, you get a great fight in the ring, but you get a great build-up as well.
Yeah.
Eddie, speaking of Barclays for the Hearn and Xander undercard, who were you thinking of for Ben Whitaker on that card? Is it a chance it could be a fight like a Najee Lopez, someone of that
someone
caliber?
around that sort of caliber. We'll announce the undercard next week. We're just finalising Ben's opponent. Obviously, Top Rank have some fighters on that card as well. There's a lot of very good, high-profile young stars on that card, and that'll all be announced next week.
Bruce Carrington be a...
No, he's not on there.
Okay.
Hey, I got a question. So I heard you talking about Nishan Dev, right? Now, you were excited when you spoke about him, but you think it get a little tricky for you when you're going down the line because you got some heavy hitters at 54. You got Boots Ennis, you got Josh Kelly, and then you're trying to bring up Nishan Dev.
Yeah, but you're talking about 2 or 3 years' time. I mean,
Okay, because I thought you were talking about having to fight next year.
That was his first 8-rounder. So he's got another 2 or 3 8-rounders. Then he'll go into some 10-round stuff. But he's a guy with an Olympic pedigree and a great amateur background. But he's got a lot of work to do. Tonight was a really good performance. Showed a lot of promise. But those guys that you mentioned are 6, 7, 8 fights away. So
you think it was safe to say Nishan was a little ahead of himself, saying he wanted to have a fight in India next year?
No,
I know you want to put a
he
championship
wasn't.
fight
Yeah,
there.
but no, he was just talking about a champion. There's a difference between a world championship and a championship. So he wasn't talking about bringing Boots to India.
Okay,
he was just talking about having a championship fight. We've got a bit of work to do first, but he's a great talent.
Eddie,
You have now with Alan Chavez here the debut in the US. You have now so many expectations for 2 big fighters in 135 pounds. Basically Chavez and Andy Cruz. How you feel about these 2 good prospects, especially with the people call Maidana 2.0?
Yeah, I mean, Andy Cruz has got to fight Albert Bowen in that final eliminator. But Alan Chavez is right there in all the governing bodies. But there's not going to be a lot of people that want to fight him after tonight. So we have to get him into a mandatory position. It looks like Joe Caldina will fight Abdullah Mason, but we're just finalising that. So the WBO mandatory won't be due for quite a while. So we've got to look at the other governing bodies. But Andy Cruz, great talent. Very different fighters. But Chavez is very, very exciting. And we want to keep him active as well. Get him back out as soon as possible.
have another question about the Pearl performance today. So many people don't have this expectation that Pearl fight for 12 rounds.
Yeah.
How you feel about that? He don't have too much pounds. Basically, he don't have the same weight. So
Yeah, I mean, he was 50 pounds lighter than Jerrell Miller, but it's tough. Like, you're in the heavyweight division, so it doesn't really matter. But I thought he showed a lot of heart tonight. I thought he showed good heart, good chin. And they're things that we didn't know whether he had or not. So he'll be back. He's a good fighter. And I think he'll learn a lot from tonight.
Eddie, I'm sure you've talked about it throughout the week, but what were your thoughts on the proceedings in Washington earlier in the week? Nick Khan, Oscar De La Hoya, Nico Ali. What'd you make of that Senate hearing?
I mean, it's a done deal before they've even gone in. I mean, Dana White was at the White House tonight having a cup of tea. So it's just all favours for the boys, isn't it? That's how politics works. But I thought there was a lot of flawed arguments, particularly from Nick Khan. And I thought there were some valid points from him. And I thought Nico Ali Walsh spoke really well. I thought Oscar spoke well. I thought there was a lot of opportunities missed. You know, ultimately you're trying to create a UFC environment, and I think the best thing that Nico Ali Walsh said was every UFC fighter is unhappy with their pay, but yet you're trying to create that same system and that same environment. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a big split now in boxing, and I think if you go with Zuffa, you're out of the governing bodies. I think that's really how it's going to have to be. Like you can't. What Nick Khan said about Maurizio Sulaiman really was a line in the sand to say our relationship is well and truly over. You can't come back from that. He's basically accused Maurizio Sulaiman of all kinds of different things, which is unfair and not true. You know, also like this whole narrative about, you know, they asked for hotel rooms. Yeah, they're the fucking supervisor. Well, they're not coming off their, like for a holiday, you know, a paid holiday. They're coming to work, and you are requesting their sanction of the event. And they're very, you know, there's a huge amount of value in having a WBC or a WBO or a WBA championship on the line for the fighters. And by the way, all these fighters want to win those belts. No one is interested in winning a Zuffa belt. And I'm sure in time, maybe 5 years, maybe that belt might mean something. I don't think so. But like the reality is I think now is the time where we've got to say, like, if you sign with Zuffa, you can't win a world championship. I mean, you've seen Jai Opetaia lose his world title. The thing that he was most proud of, the thing that he wanted to unify and become undisputed, and now you're seeing Richardson Hitchens sign, and now he's giving up his title as well. So that's fine. If you sign with Zuffa, you can't have that legacy. You can't have it both ways. And I think that's really how it should be, because I think Zuffa should have the balls to say, yeah, we know what they're trying to do, so just come out and say it. Like, we're not going to work with you guys. Like, they've already said that, and they moaned and cried when the IBF didn't sanction the fight with Jai Opetaia. So let's just get it right. You got to fight for two ways. You fight for legacy, or you fight for this new system. For me, the legacy will always be the answer.
Eddie, I am curious what you think the biggest flaws were in Nick Khan's arguments, but also, is it unwise for people outside of Zuffa to pigeonhole themselves into defending the current and traditional structure when it does have a lot of problems they can weaponize in a discourse against why they deserve to.
I think everything has problems. Everything can be improved, and I think the governing bodies are definitely some of them. I think they've made a huge stride. Loads of flawed arguments. I mean, a lot around the Maurizio Sulaiman stuff. I thought the injury stuff, the deaths in boxing. I mean, you talk about the liquidity of fights, the number of fights versus the number of UFC and MMA fights. It's chalk and cheese. And by the way, it's a completely different kind of sport. You know, this is a sport where you're taking blows repeatedly in the head over a period of time. You spend half your time on the floor, cuddling. And you get choked out, by the way, unconscious, so that you are no longer in the land of living. Do you know what I mean? But that's fine, like, you know. So like there was loads of stuff, but I thought he spoke well, Nick Khan, and I thought Oscar spoke well. I thought Nico was fantastic. But the reality is that act is designed to protect the fighter, and they're trying to unprotect the fighter by having complete control to do whatever they want. So, you know, I think as a Brit coming into this country and seeing that act at work, I couldn't believe it when I first come, because you have to tell the fighters how much revenue is in the night. And they don't want you to know how much revenue is in the night. That should tell you everything you need to know. And no one really mentioned that, by the way. But that is the key reason.
Well, he was saying, well, it's all publicly disclosed.
It's
Everybody
not.
knows what we're getting per year.
No, they don't.
But I guess per
no,
event
they don't.
is
Of
a
course,
different
they don't know.
conversation, right?
They don't know what Paramount are paying per show. You have a situation where that deal could be so big, they could be getting 10 million a night from Paramount, right? And the guys fighting in the Apex, the total purses for the entire night are $1 million. And they're getting 10 million revenue just from the broadcaster. Like these are the things they're trying to stop you from knowing.
Yeah.
Like the mad thing is over here, and I'll be honest, when I first came to America and started promoting, I was like, oh my God, like, there's actually a piece of paper. TV are paying this, gate this, other revenue, and it's like, so you can't, but isn't that, I mean, that's unbelievably fair. You can't get any fairer than that. But they don't want you to know that. They want to just control you.
Is it safe to say we're not going to see a fight between you and Dana?
He's shit himself, isn't it? Excuse, that's a British thing. It means that he's lost his courage, he lost his heart. He called me out on national TV in the UK, called me a pussy, excuse my language.
I was in the room.
Yeah, and I said, okay, I accept, let's do it. And then he went, oh no, I'm really old, I can't get out of bed in the morning, and we're bums.
Yeah.
I said, well, you called me out for a fight, you called me a pussy. So the fact is, there's only one pussy, and his name's Dana White, and it's pretty embarrassing, to be honest with you. I think he needs to really rethink it, and I think he has to accept now, because this is getting rather embarrassing.
If he does accept, how many rounds y'all doing?
I've probably only got about 3 or 4 rounds in me.
Well, who would sanction it then?
Matchroom belt.
I mean, Zuffa boxing. They seem to sanction everything else.
Thank you so much,
All right,
Eddie.
cheers guys, thanks very much.